Hello and welcome to the Bridgewater Raynham Connection. I'm Pat Riley, and our co-host for the program is our Superintendent of Schools for the Bridgewater Raynham Regional School District, Dr. Jacqueline Forbes. Welcome.
Thank you, Pat. Good afternoon.
And we are into our new school year.
Yes, we are, and it's an exciting year, off to a great start.
Excellent, very good. And you've brought a couple special guests today.
I have. I'm really thrilled that we're able to have a show about the wellness of our students. I have with me our to my far left, our nurse leader, Marie Fahey, and to my immediate left, our new athletic trainer, Peter Smith. Both of these people are key in maintaining the health of our children in the district, so I'm really thrilled that they're able to be here with us today.
And obviously, Dr. Forbes, the health is so important because education is the game, but if the children aren't healthy, then, you know, it's all to no avail.
Yes, their health and their safety directly impact what we're able to accomplish in the classrooms. And we have very safe schools, and we also have a wonderful, healthy safety net for our children.
Very good. Marie, maybe we can start with you. Explain about your department, what it encompasses.
Well, the Health Services Department, we're comprised of we have 10 school nurses in the department and 3 health aides covering all 7 schools. We have children in every building that have some significant health issues that need to be addressed. Basically, almost 25% of our student population has an identified health need or health issue that is documented on their health form, the intake forms that we get from parents every year. So there is meticulous follow-up in the fall every year to see how these children are doing, develop individualized care plans for these children so that they can get the most out of the school day and function here in school, because we all know that improved attendance improves their academic success, and we want to be able to help them do that.
How long have you been with the district?
This is my 26th year.
Really?
I'm starting to see some children of students up here.
Wow.
It's amazing. I have a new little grandson that lives in Raynham too that will be a future student here. I can't believe it, but time does pass quickly.
How has the department changed over that period
Oh,
of time?
it's changed a lot. I think when I first started, I was one of 2 nurses for 5 buildings.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There were not regulations in place from the Department of Public Health, the new medication regulations, and a lot of things were not in place at that time. And basically, the secretaries in the buildings were caring for children prior to us having a nurse in every school. In 2000, I wrote a grant called the Essential School Health Services Grant, and that grant provided funding to increase nursing staff and bring our health offices up to top of the line, basically, with all new equipment, all new computers, all new SNAP Health software, so that we could track statistics for the Department of Public Health. And that was a stipulation in the grant, actually, that the district, any district with more than 2,500 students, have a full-time nurse leader that could address a lot of the projects and programs that they wanted to see in school districts. So I think we've made a lot of progress.
That's huge. It's really become very professionalized, and
Yeah, I think the total dollar amount now is about $1.25 million that Essential Grant has brought into the district for health services.
when you mention the percentage of students that really have some health need or that to be addressed, is that an increase percentage-wise? It seems like, I mean, you even think at the high school, you usually think that students at the high school are usually, for the most part, fairly healthy and there's not a lot of need. But I can remember a recent meeting when you gave a list of how many visits that the nurse takes.
Right.
You know, it's amazing.
Yes, some of our health offices see, on average, for instance, Williams Intermediate School just last week, they were averaging 75 students a day in the health office. So, yeah, we see a lot of children for a variety of issues.
Right.
You know, some medication, but a lot of emotional and psychological issues that we are looking to address and develop more programs this year Actually, you know, we do the grade 10 suicide awareness and prevention program at the high school. We're looking to expand that to the middle school level as well. And just, you know, taking care of their emotional and mental well-being as part of their overall health.
And some of that may be an increase in percentage, but also just in the awareness that that's being addressed, where in the past maybe it wasn't addressed to the extent that we do now.
Right. There are increases for sure with food allergies.
Oh, yes.
And we have to make sure we have everything in place for those children. And yeah, it's a daunting task sometimes, but we're getting the job done.
And you are very pleased with the job that is done by the department.
Yes, I am. Our nursing staff is outstanding, and Marie not only takes care of supervising the nurses, but she also takes care of the field trip issues that we have. When a child goes out on a field trip, we have to make sure that we have medical coverage because field trips are for all children, and we don't deny anyone access to a field trip. And that's becoming increasingly a bigger part of her responsibility. At the high school, this past year, we increased the nursing staff by a half-time position to cover the needs of the students. We are seeing more children in trauma as well as in terms of medical issues. So the nursing staff now at a full complement of 10 seems about right for handling the needs of the district.
And that's not unique to BR.
Oh,
I
no.
mean, as far as the large need of students in schools today.
There's definitely more of a need. I've seen it over the past decade rise with the numbers of students that have issues that need to be addressed. And we work closely, obviously, nursing works closely with guidance, with the athletic department to make sure all the students are covered and have a safe environment.
Mr. Smith, tell us about your involvement with the district.
I've been at Bridgewater Raynham High School now for, this will be my 19th year, and but this is the second year that I've been employed through the district, and it has afforded me some opportunities to increase my role. You know, I have much better communication with the nurses now as pertains to athletic injuries and what we have to do now with new state guidelines governing concussions and reporting of such injuries. You know, now being in the building for some of the day, I can go down to the nurse's office. We can talk about a case, you know, face to face rather than tagging each other with emails all day or chasing each other on the phone. You know, we're right in the building. It affords me a little more opportunity to get to know some of the kids too, rather than being hired through a outreach program.
So it was almost you were like advisory basis before, and now you're actually part of the staff?
Yeah, it's pretty much that's really what it is. It was more of a hired gun situation before, where you'd come in right when the sports started and leave right when they ended, and no other real involvement. You know, and this certainly affords me more opportunity to be involved with the school, not just the athletic program.
I'm very thrilled that we were able to have the school committee approve a full-time certified athletic trainer. We are a Division I high school. Half of our students are involved in sports at the high school, and with the new concussion laws and with other regulations that are, you know, that have been forthcoming and are in place, we felt the need to have somebody there full-time. And the new full-time position has been in place for 2 budgets now, and Mr. Smith is able to oversee all of the athletic training facilities. He oversees training of the coaches, of the staff. He works with the children. He does. He provides the testings, the impact. I'm not sure if I know the correct name of the impact testing. He monitors everything. He does the state reports. He oversees a lot, and I'm thrilled to have him on board, in place in the gymnasium area and the athletic training facilities. He works with the kids before school, after school, during the summer, and during the school. It's been a really wonderful addition to the faculty, and he complements the full team of the athletic director, the guidance department, administration, and the nurse, you know, the nurses. So I'm very pleased about that.
So what you do now, Peter, is a lot more actually preventive
Sure,
than just responsive.
Yeah, I mean, the accidents are going to happen on an athletic field. That's just the way it is. It's the nature of athletics, and doing athletic things is there are going to be injuries. But especially with the new concussion guidelines the state has, the intent of the law, I don't believe, was to actually stop concussions. As strange as that may sound, it's to stop the second impact of concussions, whereby one did not resolve fully because nobody really knew what they were dealing with, and there you had the long-term damage and possibly just catastrophic consequences of playing with a concussion. So really the intent of the law was awareness on all levels, parents, students, administrators, coaches, volunteers, everybody to recognize it and therefore not have anybody out there on the field that was suffering a concussion at risk of getting a second one before the first had resolved. And I really think that our education on the subject through lectures, through the online courses that we make everybody take, and through students having to go to these lectures and understand why. And then the new school committee guideline from the summer that all athletes and band members, cheerleaders get impact baseline neurocognitive testing.
How does that actually work?
It's a computer-based test where we are very fortunate that a local physician, Dr. Ken Lawson over at Signature Healthcare in Brockton, has donated the testing program to us, to our school and a lot of school districts in the area. That we get an account just for Bridgewater Raynham, and we bring the kids in, we test them in a computer lab, and it's about a 35 minute test, and the students are based on, it's basically a memory, a recall, a follow directions, and there's a time component also. And it measures their neurocognition, how their brain is able to process information, how quickly, how accurately, and they're given a score. So that should they get a concussion, and they are now symptom-free, no more headaches, no more bothered by lights, they are able to take a second post-concussion test and align the two scores and see, is their brain actually functioning back where it was prior to the injury? And it's about the best way that they have right now for figuring out when you are indeed prepared to come back to activity without the risk of a second impact syndrome.
And that's what's really serious, is if you...
That's the most serious. You know, second impact syndrome, if you actually suffer second impact syndrome, it's a 50-50 chance that you're going to survive it. So that's really the intent of the law, is to stop all the catastrophic death that could happen. And we've been very fortunate. Kids are coming forward now right away when they have any signs and symptoms of a concussion, because they know what they are and they know what they're dealing with. And there's no more stigma of getting your bell rung or just being a little dizzy, or everybody knows this is signs and symptoms of a traumatic brain injury, and we need to treat it as such. So it's been very helpful.
Marie, what's your response to all of that?
Definitely. We want to avoid that second impact syndrome no matter what. And I think the children are educated now, the parents as well. They have to sign off on a pre-participation form that they understand what a concussion is, what to look for, and we have everything online and on our website for parents to access those forms. Also to take the concussion course.
You can do that right on our
district website. The links are right there. I was telling Pete I did the CDC course yesterday to review everything, and it's very simple to use, and you can print a certificate and give it to your child's coach that you have an understanding of concussions. What's important to know about concussions, I think, is they're hard to diagnose initially because no test, you don't go to the hospital and have a CAT scan or anything. It does not show the actual concussion. It's all a pattern of behavior, the memory loss, maybe the headache, the sensitivity to light, and sensitivity to noise. So there are stages that you have to go through to let your brain rest first before you overstimulate it again. It's not so much it's a imbalance in the fluid in the brain, the chemicals, that need time to rest and heal before you can return to full activity.
And I'm sure that's probably difficult for a student. It's you know, an excellent athlete or just loves the sport so much they don't want to, you know, give up any time.
Absolutely.
And that's the important thing about the concussion awareness, is to raise awareness. It's so that people know we're not taking you out of a sport for a punishment, and we don't think that you're not brave for not playing with it.
Right.
You know, it's that it's important for long-term well-being that you not play with a concussion and let it resolve completely to avoid any long-term damage.
And no two children are alike, and the length of recovery varies from child to child. They all have to have medical clearance to come back to play or resume a full schedule. But we do have accommodations that we make for students in the academic arena as well. And we have a reentry type of form, post-concussion, that a parent can bring to their physician when they want to limit the amount of computer work, class work. Sometimes it's as tolerated basis.
So then again, Dr. Forbes, it's that teamwork, you know, the health department having to work with your guidance department and in the entire school.
And that's why I believe BR is so successful. We have great faculty working together for the best interests of the students. And it's also nice to know I can sleep better at night knowing that Pete and Marie are on board taking care of our children. And the first time I met Pete, he was on the sidelines at a football game. And I was watching him do his little testing. Can you explain what you do on the sidelines
It's
of a meet or a game?
Basically, as pertains to concussions, or any as pertains to concussions, you know, most of the concussions we deal with, there is no loss of consciousness, which makes it it kind of puts the onus on us to make sure we are evaluating the injury properly and make sure that no one with the signs and symptoms gets back on the field. The wording of the law is such that if you suspect it, they have to come out and they cannot return that day at the least, and it's usually longer. But
And your word on the sideline rules.
it's unless there is a neuro surgeon on the sidelines, it's
You're
pretty much
it.
that's how it goes. We haven't been fortunate yet to
Chances
have
are
one
slim.
work for pro bono on the sidelines, but
Even the
but until that time,
superintendent would defer to Pete's decision.
It's a variety of things. I right off the bat ask them simple questions they should know: day, date, score of the game, something that maybe happened during the game, just to see generally do they have the wherewithal to answer the question. Beyond that, you know, after you've made sure vitals are all working properly, and then following that, I always give them recall exercises, something to remember. You know, I usually give them, you know, words, phrases, just totally unrelated things, just nonsensical things to remember, and then I'll give them a distracting exercise of some kind, and see if they can remember it a minute later, 3 minutes later, 5 minutes later, 15 minutes later. I usually, you know, if they don't end up going to the hospital, I'll give the parents the recall words and say, you know, ask them tomorrow morning, you know, check that, you know, overnight, you know, check them, you know, every once in a while, just check in on them, you know. I mean, for the most part, most of the head injuries we've had really don't require that they run to an emergency room, but it does require awareness and monitoring by us and the parents. And then if we so choose, you know, if we find it's necessary, we certainly refer them to the doctor. And again, Dr. Ken Lawson's office has been great about getting them right in. You know, evaluating their post-concussion tests for us. He's done a very, you know, just a exemplary job of helping us out in that regard.
From a parent's perspective, how do you know the difference that you really need to take, you know, your child to the doctor ASAP?
Any kind of systemic, you know, if they're having any trouble breathing, if they're having any trouble, you know, I mean, remembering something I gave you 30 seconds ago, any kind of balance disturbances, you know, I mean, if they're stumbling and dizziness and, you know,
Speaking.
Yeah,
Nausea and
sure. I
vomiting.
mean, anything like anything overt, such sure, nausea, vomiting. It's an automatic for any loss of consciousness is an automatic ambulance ride.
Really?
I mean, it's just the way it has to be. You know, we just never know. You know, if they came out of being unconscious, are they going to go back in?
Right.
You know, so we have to make sure. So.
Now, how are we doing so far this year? Do we have any indication that the awareness is helping?
I think from the standpoint that more and more athletes on their own are reporting to us is certainly evidence enough that that the awareness part is working, that they fully understand the signs and symptoms, and they're coming to me appropriately. I would say right now we are about in half on the injuries we had last year at this same time, as pertains to head injuries. We have about 7 right now in athletics, and I think at the high school level there were about 4 outside of that from various things, car accidents and such. But you know, we're certainly down as far as the number of concussions, which is good, and you know, certainly everybody that has played sports thus far this year in the fall is in compliance now with the impact testing and the concussion awareness.
Excellent. You got good response for that.
Very
as
good
far as
response.
support.
We had a concussion awareness that, again, Dr. Ken Lawson came and actually spoke to our as a district. He came and spoke at the high school on the 22nd of August. There were just about 700 people there for that. And you know, between concussion certificates for people who couldn't attend, there's about another 400 there. And since August 1st, we've had roughly 400 children baseline tested, which is good for 2 years. So, and we're hitting them as they come out of 8th grade now at the middle school levels in June, so we can get kind of ahead of it. So it's not a mad rush.
Right,
you know, once sports starts in the fall, which is before school starts. So
I know.
it's tough to track them down in the summer.
Yeah, excellent. Well, it sounds like we're doing well.
Yes, and Pete also is responsible for the marching band.
Yeah, the marching band and cheering, and yeah, they're all involved in this law, and certainly have, I haven't had a marching band concussion yet. I hope we don't have one.
Right.
We have had a few cheerleading ones though,
Okay.
so always keeping an eye on that.
Very good. Tell us a little bit about our wellness policy as far as food and so forth, Marie,
Well,
because that's another big concern.
That's
I
another
know.
big umbrella, right? We just actually had a health advisory council meeting this morning at 7:30, and Pete was instrumental on that committee as well, developing our concussion policy last year when we, the year before. I think it's been 2 years now since it all started.
Sure.
But the wellness policy, we did amend that last year for the new nutrition guidelines that were put in place, and Eric Delisle is part of the committee as well. He talked a little bit this morning. Sales are down a little bit right now. The only thing that's basically changed are portion sizes. He was already implementing the whole grains and the improved nutritional offerings in the cafeterias. So things are moving along slowly. I think the younger children being exposed to all the healthier choices at their age, they're going to be that much more used to it when they get to the middle school and the high school. Some of the favorite snacks that we used to offer that had higher caloric content are no longer being offered, and he has noticed he's taken a little bit of a hit there, Shotwell's company. But overall, the other issues in the wellness policy that we're trying to focus on are limiting the celebrations and classroom parties to once a month, and the building administrators are going to help us with that. It's difficult. I know the little ones, you know, when it's their birthday, but Shotwell's also has come out with, actually I should have brought it, but a one-page for parents that is on the website that they will, and this is great, if they had this when my kids were younger, I would have taken advantage of this, but they have small little cookies for a birthday celebration for 25 cents, and they're also offering a small fruit cup for 25 cents also that will be delivered to your child's class for their birthday celebration. So there's no more parents trying to scramble to make, you know, 2 dozen cupcakes at 11 o'clock at night or whatever. It also eliminates the potential for problems with our children with
Allergies.
food allergies, and that's a huge concern of ours. We don't like the fact that when food comes in, we don't know what the contents are, and those children have to be protected, and they
Sure.
cannot receive anything coming into the classroom, especially if they have multiple allergies.
And no fault of the parent, but you may
Right.
not know that if there's a child with a peanut allergy,
Right.
you can't even prepare that if that's in your kitchen,
Exactly,
for heaven's sake. Yeah.
and we don't, you know, so this helps us also by limiting exposure to any potential allergens.
And we also have other allergies
Yes.
that the children have. So it's really beneficial if the parents think about it, talk with their school nurse and classroom teacher, and figure out a way to celebrate a birthday.
Come up with some creative ideas,
Yeah.
maybe a
Absolutely.
Pencils.
reading party.
Yeah, a new book.
But I would like to make it clear that we don't hold birthday parties. Typically what happens is if someone brings in a treat for the children, they use that, or they have that treat right before recess or at recess, because we don't want to take away from instructional
Right.
time.
Right.
That's really important, and what we're about is giving the children the most amount of instructional time that we can. And so we would ask parents to please confer with their school nurse so that we can make sure they're within the nutritional guidelines.
Sure, come up with a reading party or something like
Yes,
that. We
absolutely.
can,
The school lunch program is noticing a slight dip in the a la carte. And that's because we don't sell Doritos and a lot of the junk food that the kids like and the adults like. We're not allowed to sell that anymore. Sodas, juices, we can't sell an 8 or 16-ounce juice. It's got to be 4 ounces. So they're limiting the portion size. But as far as our regular hot lunch, we are not seeing a decline in that. It's mostly in the area of a la carte.
very good. So there's a lot going on, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, what about our health curriculum? How is that handled? Is that a different team? Do Marie and Pete get involved in that at all? Or?
Well, they get involved in that our phys ed and health instructors work with our director of curriculum and their department chair, and also with Marie, and I'm sure Pete's going to have a big part of that in terms of concussion awareness. And we're revising the health curriculum, and I expect that we'll be reporting out this year to the school committee.
We did actually start as a part of the impact baseline testing in the high school last year, and we're doing it this fall, whereas the students as sophomores take gym and health in their sophomore year. There's one group that takes it for half of the year, and at the end of that year, at the end of that semester, right at the end of the health class, we take them all in and give them the baseline impact test, whether they play sports or not. You know, it's part of the health curriculum. The health teachers speak on the concussions, and then we take them in and we took care of it. And it's kind of a nice way to get more kids baseline tested,
Absolutely.
and on a schedule. You know, so it worked out very well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So we're catching all the 8th graders and the 10th graders. So
And then there's your every 2 years. You know, it takes them right through
Exactly.
their senior year.
Exactly. Marie, so you're pleased with the way things are going?
I am. I'm very excited to have 2 full-time nurses at the high school. We have significant needs at the high school level, and we thank the school committee and Dr. Forbes.
You're welcome, and I think I see a signal that we're just about out of time. Time flies when you're having fun, but Marie, thank you very much, and Peter for coming
you.
and
Thank you for having us.
sharing, and Dr. Forbes.
Thank you, Pat.
We'll be back on our next Bridgewater-Raynham Connection.
Yes,
And
thank
we
you.
want to thank all of you for being with us as well. We'll see you on our next episode.